Hi there, Kimberly Flanagan of Kimberlys Quilts. The other day I posted a video about how to use Embrilliance to lay out an embroidered greeting card in such a way that you can stitch it on a thicker material. I personally choose Peltex, and then I can attach that stitched out design to cardstock. So I told you that there were two different ways that I do it, so I'm going to show you now basically both of those so that you can choose whichever one works for you. So let's start with the hooping. So here's my pieces of Peltex. You can see here that I have some various sizes. I have some 5x7 and I have some 4x6. Peltex comes on a roll, and you can get it by the yard. You can get sometimes pre-packaged. I use Peltex 70 and I use the sew-in. I do not use the sticky. I do not like that. I find this easier to work with. Comes in both black and white, so you'll see I'll post some pictures of my finished cards, and you'll see that sometimes I do it on black and sometimes I do it on white. Usually more often white, but personal preference based on the design. I'm going to be using white today because we're going to stitch out the birthday card for my daughter that you saw me lay out. There's two ways that you can go about setting this up. The first way is putting 2 layers of heavyweight cutaway stabilizer in a hoop, and this is that first placement line that I talked about that we're going to use to line things up. I use this when I'm doing a lot of cards, Christmas cards, that time of year. So this makes it easier for me to put my sticky stabilizer on here and reuse this multiple times. If you don't want to do that, and I'm only doing one card occasionally, I can use a regular hoop and use my sticky stabilizer in here without doing this. The only thing that this advantage this gives you is that if you want to do multiple cards, multiple one right after another, you don't have to do this portion of it again. If you are doing it one card and one hooping of sticky stabilizer, you do not need to cut out this center. You'll see here in a minute why I cut this center out, but you don't need to if you're only doing one card and you're putting your sticky stabilizer directly into your hoop. So let's start with the other items that I'm going to need. I will need a piece of sticky stabilizer, and I also will need a piece of cardstock. This is yellow because it's going to go with my stitched out design. I'll be honest with you, right now is an excellent time if you can still get to a Joann's. They have a lot of their cardstock products on sale, 70% off. I was there a couple weeks ago and I did go a little crazy and stock up. So, or Michael's or Hobby Lobby occasionally has an excellent sale on it. And this can be plain, it can be a patterned one. Sometimes for Christmas I'll do a holiday package of cardstock, and then this might be holly and things like that, so that it just gives your background a little bit of a different look. You'll see that when we're finished. So first thing I do is I take the sticky stabilizer, and we're going to do it on this assuming that we're going to do multiple cards, only because I know that that will create the most questions. You guys already know how to do sticky stabilizer within your hoop when it's the only thing there. So I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing, and then I'm going to pull back the backing on this so that the sticky part of my stabilizer is exposed. And I'm having trouble. Okay, so this is the trash side of it. I'm going to adhere this. Oh, let me put my hoop up here. I'm going to adhere this. This is the right top side of my hoop. So to the bottom side of it, with the sticky side up, I'm going to place this over my hole. And I'm going to rub it down and get it on there nice and snug. If I was just doing one card and I didn't want to do it, then I would just load my sticky stabilizer directly in my hoop and I would bypass this step. Okay. So there it is, ready to load into my machine. I now will take my piece of Peltex and I will load it in here using my placement line here. This is the first line that I had you stitch out or lay out in your Embrilliance. Might be 5 by 7, might be 4 by 6, might be 8 by 10. Depends on the size of the card that you're trying to make. So I'm going to use my placement lines and I am going to carefully put my piece of Peltex over top of the placement lines. And I am going to push it down, get it on there nice and snug. Now you can see I have my Peltex over top of my placement line. Okay. Now I just load my hoop in here like normal. Now I am going to pause and move the camera around behind me so that you can actually see what I'm doing on my machine. Okay, so hold on just. Okay, I'm back with you now. You'll see here that I've pulled up the design. I rotated it so that it was aligned the same direction as what's in my my throat space here with my hoop. If you notice here, the very first line stitching I've already done. That is my placement line that I lined up my Peltex within. So now I can come in here and I can jump down to the very first stitching. And that's going to be the starting of my happy birthday. So now I'm just going to do regular embroidery of all of these colors so that I can stitch out my happy birthday. And it's going to be stitching on my Peltex. So now I'm going to show you over here as it's stitching. Now I'm ready to start stitching, so here we're going to go. Just checking back in here, we're stitching away. Just for your information, there's 17,368 stitches in this design, and on my Solaris 3 or Vision, depending on what you want to call it, it says that it will take 31 minutes to stitch out. Giving you that information so that you can see the density of the letters and how this would not have worked if I had stitched it on cardstock. I've got, looks like I've got about 20 more minutes to go, so I'm just going to pause you right here and we are now moving on to our third color. It's stitching right along here, so I'm going to go back on mute and let you guys just continue to watch this stitch. Okay, so our stitch out has completed, and now we're going to come in here, and the next thing we're going to do is we are going to first move the camera back so that you can see what I'm doing here. Now, I'm going to remove this. I am going to put the camera here so you can see. I am going to gently pull back the Peltex. And you will see that it has made some perforations here along where it has stitched. And I'm going to very gently pull the Peltex up, leaving all of the interfacing still in the hoop. I want this to remain, and I want the sticky stabilizer to remain. So this heavy stitching would have perforated a card. So now, once I remove this, there is my stitched out happy birthday. Let me see. Okay. I have this remaining, this little bit of sticky stabilizer. That's going to be plenty for the few steps that are left. Now, full disclosure, while that was stitching out, this was the original card stock that I had chose. I decided that I liked this bright yellow better and that it would be more festive and fun. So I cut a piece of the dark yellow. So I'm now going to take the dark yellow and I am going to use that original placement line and I'm going to put this piece of cardstock down. I am using the same dimensions that I used for my Peltex. And that could have been 4 by 6, could have been 5 by 7, could have been whatever. 8 by 10, whatever my original design was. Now, I'm going to also use a little bit of tape in the corners here to hold the Peltex right on top of the cardstock. Just a little bit in all 4 corners. And now I'm going to gently put this back in Okay, I had a little bit of a hiccup. I ran out of bobbin thread, so you can see that it only partially stitched here. So I'm going to go back, now that I've added a new bobbin, I'm going to go back and I'm going to restitch that. It's really not going to be an issue because sometimes, depending on how much stitching I have in here, I will actually run this placement line twice. So let me go ahead and stitch this, and then we will move on to the next step. It works so much better when you have bobbin thread in there. Now, at this point, I usually take I will take this out of the machine, and now what I will do is I'm going to show you down here, readjust the camera, sorry guys. I use my scissors here, and let's see, those aren't my favorite pair, but we'll get these to work. Now I will only cut through the Peltex, not and I will come in here and just like I do an applique, I will closely trim. And guys, I'm gonna pause it here because the camera is in the way of my hands, so I can't really do this. So I will show you as soon as I get it trimmed. So you can see now that I have it trimmed down just like I would in an applique. And now I'm going to put it back in the machine the right way. And the last step is to put the decorative motif down that we've selected. This one is just the one that I chose for this one. For Christmas, I often will choose something that is the snowflake or something more seasonal to go with my card. So, let's this is a lot where your personal preference comes in as to how large do you want this motif to be, what do you want the gaps to be, this is completely personal preference, which makes one of the reasons it makes these cards very unique in my opinion. I tend to go a little bit on the smaller side. I know a lot of my friends that do this often like for their motif to be slightly larger. But again, all personal preference. You can make it completely what you like. I have a little green thread peeking out under there, so I want to get that before I stitch the motif down. Okay, so there we have it. The stitching is done. I'm going to take this out now. I'm going to show you down here what I do at this point. So the stitch out is complete, and now the next step is I will take this out and I will flip it over. At this point, I can pull this up from the back. This is my sticky stabilizer, and your motif stitch has created somewhat of what I'm going to call a perforation. It's not 100% perforated, so I carefully, because I don't want to risk ripping it or pulling anything loose, I will come in here and I will cut this away. You can see as it gets cut away, it comes out. Now, if I were making another card, I can just put the sticky stabilizer right in here and start my next card while I move on to the next step. So I'm going to finish cutting this away. If you want to tear it, you can. I just don't ever want to risk that. And this is what the back of my card looks like. This is where the, that's where I ran out of bobbin thread. This gap here is where I originally stitched out the happy birthday, and then I pulled it away. And this is not a very appealing back. So at this point, I can then take the folded card and attach it. Now, this is for some of my 4x6 cards, and I made this one 5x7, but I'm just showing you for reference point. I now can use double-sided tape and put this on here. And by this being slightly smaller than my exterior cardstock, and again, you can get this in any color you want, I attach this with double-sided tape. Any type of double-sided tape that you're comfortable using is fine. I do not have a larger card already cut, so I'm going to have to make one. But I will show you here some examples of what I'm talking about. So here's a Christmas card that I made. And you can see this white piece of cardstock is the one that I stitched it to. And on this one, I actually chose to make a red and a green, with the green being the one that actually opens. With the double-sided tape and putting this on here, you can see that I have no ugly insides showing. All of this mess here is now on top of another card, and it's not seen. So this is what you can do with two. Here's another one that I made two colors, red and green. Here's one that is a Valentine's Day card I made with two shades of pink. Fall. Here's one with black Peltex, so you can actually see what it would, something stitched out on black. I think this would have lost a lot of its appeal had I stitched this out on white. Here's another one, Christmas card ready to go, and here's another Christmas card ready to go. Now, there is a technique so that you can make your own envelopes from paper, and so that they can fit any size card, or you can just buy whatever size envelopes you want on Amazon. I actually sometimes enjoy making my own card envelopes that will match and coordinate because I just think it's creative and fun and gives a little bit of an extra touch. I will make a video on how to make the envelopes. If you guys are interested, you can check that out so that you can see how to complete this. So now I will go find a fun card background for this, and this is almost finished, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that and learned something, and I hope that it's inspired you to go make something. Thank you.